What if every experience you've ever had, the joyful ones, the painful ones, the confusing, even the heartbreaking ones, happened for a reason? What if nothing in your life was random? We often move through life asking, why did this happen to me? Especially when we face suffering, loss, or unexpected change. Our minds immediately seek meaning. We want control. We want answers. And when life doesn't follow our plans, it's easy to feel lost, even betrayed by fate. But Buddhism offers us a different lens. It teaches us that nothing happens by chance. There are no meaningless moments. Every experience, whether pleasant or painful, arises from causes and conditions. Everything that happens is the natural result of something that came before. Instead of randomness, there is interconnection. Instead of chaos, there is karma. Instead of victimhood, there is awareness. This ancient wisdom doesn't dismiss our pain or ask us to blindly accept injustice. Instead, it gently invites us to look deeper, to see suffering not as punishment, but as part of a larger unfolding, a hidden opportunity for insight, for growth, for transformation. In this article, we'll explore how Buddhist philosophy helps us understand the deeper meaning behind life's events. We'll walk through key teachings like impermanence, karma, mindfulness, and acceptance, not as abstract ideas, but as tools to help you live with more peace, clarity, and purpose. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are not powerless. You're simply in the middle of a story that's still being written. And Buddhism offers the ink of wisdom to help you write it with more compassion and grace. One of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is the concept of impermanence, anicca in Pali. It is the truth that nothing in this life stays the same. Everything, your emotions, your relationships, your possessions, even your own body, is in constant motion, constantly changing. And yet, most of our suffering comes from trying to hold on. We want happiness to last forever. We want people to stay the same. We want life to follow our expectations. But the more we cling, the more we struggle. Because change is not the enemy. Resistance is. Think of nature. A tree doesn't resist autumn. It sheds its leaves gracefully. A river doesn't cling to a single shape. It flows. The sky doesn't fear storms. It holds them and lets them pass. So why do we, as human beings, suffer so deeply when things change? Because we forget that change is not personal. It is natural. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises when we resist what is. But when we accept impermanence, we find freedom. It allows us to enjoy the present without fearing its end, to love someone deeply, knowing they may not stay, not with fear, but with gratitude, to move through difficult times with the quiet understanding that this too shall pass. Impermanence doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we care more deeply, because we know that every moment is fleeting and therefore precious. So the next time you feel the pain of loss or the fear of change, try whispering this to yourself. Nothing lasts forever, and that is what makes life so beautiful. When we stop fighting change and begin to flow with it, we discover a peace that is no longer dependent on circumstances, but rooted in understanding. Because once we accept impermanence, we no longer fear endings. We learn to see them as beginnings in disguise. In life, there are moments when we look around and ask ourselves, why is this happening? Why did that relationship fall apart? Why do some people seem to succeed effortlessly while others suffer endlessly? And perhaps most haunting of all, did I deserve this? These questions can be heavy and dangerous if we don't understand how life unfolds. But in Buddhism, there is a timeless teaching that brings clarity, compassion, and empowerment. It's the law of karma, not as superstition, not as punishment, but as a universal truth of cause and effect. Karma, in its essence, is beautifully simple. Every action has a consequence. Every word, every thought, every intention sends out a ripple, not only into the world, but into our own consciousness. It's not about divine judgment. It's not about being good or bad in the eyes of some external force. Karma is neutral. Like gravity, it doesn't punish or reward. It simply reflects. If you plant an apple seed, you won't grow oranges. If you plant kindness, you won't reap cruelty. But if you plant anger, resentment, greed, don't be surprised when those qualities return to you in ways you never expected. Just like a garden, your life is the harvest of seeds you've planted, knowingly or unknowingly, through your thoughts, words, and deeds. And yet, karma is not meant to make us fearful. It's meant to make us mindful. Many people misunderstand karma as fate, something unchangeable, written in stone. But karma is fluid, alive, constantly evolving. At every moment, with every choice, we are planting new seeds. The present moment is not just the result of the past. It is the birthplace of the future. This is where karma becomes a source of freedom rather than fear. Let's take a moment to reflect. How often do we act out of habit rather than awareness? How many times have we spoken harshly, only to regret it later? How many times have we carried anger silently, assuming it had no cost? But Buddhism teaches that even our silent thoughts have energy. A hateful thought, even if never spoken, darkens the atmosphere of our inner world. A compassionate thought, even if no one else knows, lightens the soul and softens the heart. Imagine your mind like a still lake. Every thought is a pebble. Even the smallest ripple travels far. And here's the miracle. We don't need to wait for the perfect conditions to plant better karma. We can start now, with one kind word, one mindful breath, one gesture of understanding. These moments are not insignificant. They are seeds. And seeds always matter. You might wonder, but what about people who do harm and never face consequences? What about those who live with integrity and still suffer? That's where karma becomes more mysterious and more humbling. Not all karma ripens immediately. Some seeds grow fast. Others lie dormant for years. A person who does harm today may feel its effects lifetimes later. A person who suffers today may be burning through past karma to rise stronger tomorrow. The timeline isn't always clear. And that's okay. Our job is not to manage outcomes, but to master intention. In Buddhist thought, intention is the heart of karma. Two people might do the same thing on the surface. Say, give money to charity. But if one does it to feel superior, and the other does it out of genuine compassion, the karmic result is entirely different, because karma begins not in the hand, but in the heart. It also teaches us accountability without guilt. Sometimes, we look at our current pain and blame others, our parents, our ex-partner, our circumstances. And yes, others may have contributed to our suffering, but karma invites us to turn inward, to ask gently but truthfully, how have I participated in this? What patterns am I repeating? What can I shift in myself today? This isn't about shame. It's about reclaiming our power. Karma reminds us that we are not helpless passengers in this life. We are the co-creators of our path. And even if our past is filled with mistakes, pain, or ignorance, the door to transformation is always open, because we are still planting seeds right now. So, what kind of garden do you want to grow? It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be honest. You can start small. Speak kindly to someone who frustrates you. Pause before reacting in anger. Offer help where you'd usually look away. Or simply sit in silence and wish someone well. These are seeds, real ones, and they shape not only your future, but the kind of person you become. As the Buddha said, if you want to know your past, look at your present. If you want to know your future, look at your present actions. Karma is not about controlling life. It's about creating space for growth, healing, awakening. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to undo the past. You just need to start choosing your present with awareness. Because in the garden of life, the seeds you plant today will be the shade, the fruit, and the peace you rest in tomorrow. Why do we suffer? According to the Buddha, suffering doesn't come from what happens to us. It comes from how tightly we hold on. We grasp. We cling. We try to make people stay. Moments last. Feelings never change. And when life inevitably moves, as it always does, we feel pain. Not because of the movement, but because of our resistance to it. This is the heart of attachment, and the quiet root of much of our emotional suffering. We cling to relationships, hoping they will complete us. We cling to possessions, believing they will define us. We even cling to identities. I must be this kind of person. I must be successful. I must never fail. But nothing in life is permanent. People change. Emotions change. The body changes. Trying to anchor our happiness to something that constantly shifts is like trying to tie a boat to a wave. Buddhism doesn't ask us to stop loving, caring, or dreaming. It simply asks us to love without trying to own, to care without trying to control, and to dream without becoming enslaved by the outcome. Letting go is not about giving up. It's about giving space for yourself, for others, for life to move as it must. When we loosen our grip, something surprising happens. We feel lighter. We discover that peace was never in the possession, but in the freedom from needing it to stay. Love becomes more real when it's not laced with fear. Joy becomes more vibrant when it's not overshadowed by the need for it to last. To let go is to return to the flow of life, to trust that what's meant for you will stay, and what's not will make space for something greater. So, when the time comes to release something, a moment, a belief, a person, do so gently, like autumn leaves falling from the tree, not with bitterness, but with grace, because in the end, the less we cling, the more we can truly hold. Letting go opens the hand, but acceptance opens the heart. There's a subtle but powerful difference between these two. Letting go is the act of releasing. Acceptance is the choice to stop resisting. In life, not everything goes according to plan. People leave, opportunities fall through, health falters, dreams evolve or disappear altogether. And when things don't unfold the way we expected, our instinct is to fight back. Mentally, emotionally, even spiritually, we replay the past. We resent the present. We try to force the future. But the more we fight reality, the more we suffer. Acceptance doesn't mean we approve of everything that happens. It doesn't mean we stop taking action or allow injustice to go unchecked. What it means is this: we stop arguing with what already is. It's the clarity of saying, this is what's happening right now. I don't have to love it, but I no longer need to fight it. Buddhism teaches that much of our suffering is secondary. It comes not from the event itself, but from our reaction to it. The frustration, the resistance, the need for things to be different. Take something simple. It starts raining on a day you planned for sunshine. The rain isn't the problem. It's our mental battle. It shouldn't be raining. that causes distress. When we practice acceptance, we begin to meet life as it is, not as we think it should be. And in that meeting, we find peace. One Zen story tells of a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors came to console him. "Such bad luck," they said. The farmer replied, "Maybe." Days later, the horse returned, bringing wild horses with it. "Wonderful luck," the neighbors exclaimed. Again, he said, "Maybe." Then his son broke his leg trying to tame one of the horses. "How unfortunate," they sighed. "Maybe." The farmer said again later. Soldiers came to the village to draft young men for war, but passed over the farmer's son because of his injury. The point of the story: life is always unfolding, and we rarely see the full picture right away. Acceptance means trusting that truth. It's not giving up. It's giving in to the present moment with grace. It allows us to breathe more freely, love more gently, and suffer less from what we can't control. Because when we stop fighting life, we finally learn how to live it. No one escapes pain. Not the wise. Not the kind. Not even the most spiritually devoted. At some point in our lives, we all face loss, disappointment, betrayal, illness, or uncertainty. And when these moments arrive, our first response is often to shrink, to feel victimized, punished, or broken. But Buddhism invites us to see adversity not as punishment, but as a teacher. There's a story of a disciple who watched a butterfly struggling inside its cocoon. Wanting to help, he gently cut the cocoon open. The butterfly emerged, but with weak wings, unable to fly. The disciple had good intentions, but he had interrupted a sacred process. The struggle wasn't a mistake. It was necessary. It was what made the wings strong. So it is with us. What feels like unbearable pain today may, in time, reveal itself to be the very thing that shaped your strength, compassion, or clarity. Think of your own life. Some of your most meaningful insights likely didn't come during easy times. They came when life pressed you to your edge, and something inside you refused to collapse. Something stretched. Something awakened. Adversity exposes the parts of us that are still tender, unhealed, reactive, and it invites us, gently or forcefully, to look inward. In Buddhism, suffering is seen as the gateway to wisdom. The first noble truth is not life is happy, but life contains suffering. But the path doesn't end there. The next truths show us how suffering can be understood, transformed, and ultimately transcended. This is not spiritual bypassing. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about allowing pain to soften the ego, not harden the heart. To ask, what is this teaching me? Instead of why me. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to grieve. But within that space, There's always a seed of transformation. If we're willing to listen, that seed might become resilience, or empathy, or the courage to start again, not in spite of your pain, but because of it. The truth is, we don't always get the life we want, but life gives us the exact conditions we need to grow. And pain, as uncomfortable as it is, often carries the most potent lessons. So when darkness comes, as it inevitably will, don't rush to escape it. Instead, ask, what part of me is being asked to evolve? Because sometimes, the storm is not here to break you. It's here to prepare you for something far greater. In our fast-paced world, we are constantly pulled between the past and the future. Our minds wander to things that have already happened, and we fret about what might or might not happen tomorrow. Yet, the only moment we truly have is now. Buddhism teaches us the powerful practice of mindfulness, the art of being fully present in each moment, without judgment or distraction. And while mindfulness is often associated with meditation, it's much more than just sitting quietly on a cushion. It is a way of living. We are often caught in the mental noise of our thoughts, rehashing the past, imagining the future, or judging ourselves and others. But when we live like this, we miss the richness of the present moment. The simple act of breathing, of listening, of walking, these can become acts of profound awareness if we allow ourselves to truly experience them. Think about it. How many times have you eaten a meal without tasting it? Or had a conversation while your mind was already on your next task? Or walked through a beautiful day without noticing the colors of the sky or the feel of the breeze? Mindfulness is about coming back to the present, to the sensations, the experiences, and the feelings that are right here, right now. When we practice mindfulness, we are no longer running away from discomfort or resisting the present moment. Instead, we allow ourselves to be with whatever is happening, the good, the bad, the boring, the beautiful, without judgment. And when we do this, we free ourselves from the tyranny of time and the suffering that arises from living either in the past or in the future. When we focus on the breath, the body, or a single task, we are grounded. When we engage fully in whatever we're doing, we unlock the richness of that experience. Mindfulness teaches us to respond to life rather than to react, to meet challenges with presence, calm, and clarity. This is where peace is found, not in the past, not in the future, but in the now. Life is not a straight line. It twists, it turns, it surprises us. Sometimes it lifts us up, other times it breaks us open. And yet, through all of it, the joy, the loss, the confusion, the growth, one truth remains. Everything happens for a reason, not in the sense of blind fate or pre-written destiny, but in the profound Buddhist understanding that everything arises from causes and conditions. Nothing is random. Every experience, pleasant or painful, carries within it a seed of transformation, of clarity, of awakening. We may not see the reason right away. Often, it's only in hindsight that we understand why a door closed, or why a challenge appeared exactly when it did. But when we live with mindfulness, compassion, and acceptance, we begin to trust the unfolding of life, even when we don't understand it. Karma reminds us we are not powerless. Impermanence teaches us that change is inevitable. Letting go frees us from suffering. Mindfulness anchors us in the present, and adversity shapes our wisdom. So wherever you are in your journey, whether in light or shadow, know this: you are not lost. You are exactly where you need to be to learn, to grow, to awaken. And when you embrace that truth, you don't just survive life, you begin to live it fully, fearlessly, and with deep peace.